You are now checking out
The Win Podcast,
where the everyday people
are the celebrities.
So let's get to know them.
I am a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend. I am, and I think you've heard this before, I always say this, I am 95% senior citizen, 5% badass. Because
awesome.
I watch political news like 24/7. So,
Oh, nice.
that's what old people do, right?
No, it's great. That's one of your hobbies, and absolutely then do it. Like, you have a joy for it, right?
It's not joyful.
No, it's not? So why do you watch it?
I'm just trying to stay woke, you know?
Okay, no, that's great. That's great. Right to the point. I'm just trying to stay woke. All right.
Yeah.
When did you start using... So I think boxing is one thing for your love and passion, and then the camera is another thing, correct?
Correct.
So which one came first, and then we'll go from there? Was it the boxing that entered your life as a childhood, or was it the camera?
Yeah, definitely boxing. My parents always had it on in the house when we were kids, so it was always on in the house, and we just developed a love for it.
What did you? I guess was that like almost like a family outing, as in like we're all gonna watch these fights and stuff like that? Did you, or automatically you saw that was on TV and it's like, wow, I'm into this because they're into this?
Yeah. My parents, back in the day, there wasn't like HBO or Showtime. Back in the days of the dinosaurs, it was just like CBS, and so they had all these fights on like standard channels, and we'd all be there. It'd be like my siblings, my grandmother, my parents, and and if you ever sat and watched the fight with like my mother, man, this woman is so animated, and she's all into it, and she's yelling, and she's like, you would swear like her life depended on the outcome of the fight. So we all just got that passion from.
Are you, when you watch it, are you the same way, or are you like more reserved?
Yeah, no, oh no, no. I have my own commentary to it. I do while I'm watching at home alone. It's just it's really funny. Besides
like almost like an excitement for what did like I guess boxing bring to your childhood and also your womanhood? Were there certain things you learned from the craft? Because I know for me, when I started doing the training of it, I always said like I love boxing, but I want to do the training. There was something so physical and also spiritual that went along with it, because I had to like get to know myself and the other person and the ring, and it was almost like a representation of life in a sense.
Right.
So what did that feel for you?
I think growing up, I probably saw them more as like superheroes. Like here, like sort of like that Godzilla, King Kong. Like here are these two monsters going in the ring, and let's see who comes out the victor. And as I grew older, I appreciated it more from the standpoint of, like you said, boxing is like, it's like everything in boxing is like a metaphor for life. So I appreciate that. And then when I started shooting it, then there's a more personal aspect to it. A lot of the boxers I've covered, or I'm friendly with, or you interact with them, even if it's not like let's go out for dinner or whatever, or hang out, but you interact with them online, and it's just more of a personal type. It's so weird because a lot of people say, well, do you know all these? Like, do you know Canelo? Do you know Triple D? It's like, no, I don't know them. But it's like you see their journey, you follow it, and you photograph them, and it's like it's a weird connection, and you just see the struggles and everything they put into it. It's a huge responsibility to go into a field where your life is in danger. As you know, this year has been really rough for boxing, and we've lost, I think it's now up to 4 boxers that passed away this year. So I have a lot of respect for people who do this.
Do you feel that you're also like a fighter in your life?
I've definitely, like, everyone's had to fight for something, you just keep going. You just keep fighting. You have to keep fighting. You don't give up until for sure. If I don't stop now, then I'm going to be in a lot of trouble, you know. But you keep fighting. You fight for your kids. You fight for, you know, their well-being, your well-being, your happiness.
Were you in? Did you ever train, or did you
No.
ever like wanted to like look into it as well? Like maybe you should try it, or it was more like from the outside, I truly appreciate this, and also taught you almost in a sense like I guess it was family based because it started from the family.
Right.
So I guess also when you're shooting and you set the line, like it becomes personal. You're almost invested in their lives where almost like it feels like they're family to you. They may not feel that about you because they're not like studying you, but you're studying them.
Right.
And I will imagine too there's a technique that goes behind that as well when you're shooting, which we're going to get into.
Right.
So this is also like almost like I would say like a second family to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're not supposed to, when you're at these events, they tell you you're not supposed to cheer, you're not supposed to take sides, but it's hard not to, at least in your head, cheer for someone whose journey you've watched and, you know, they put their all into it. So that's a little bit of the hard part, especially if you're shooting ringside. You know, you're supposed to be neutral. So every once in a while, you know.
How did the camera come into play into your life, and then take us down that journey when you started, I guess, having the interest of like, let me shoot boxing?
Yeah, so I worked for a college, and it's an art school, and they have all this equipment that I could borrow anytime I want. And somebody had gotten tickets for my sister and I. They were ringside seats, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to borrow a camera and I'm going to bring it with me. I didn't know you're not supposed to do that, but I was like, I'll bring it anyway. So I brought it and I had it in there and I started setting it up and I was sitting ringside and I pulled it out. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm not formally trained at that point. I played with it and I got a few shots, and there was one specific shot that I got and that was it. Like I fell in love. I was like, wow, I like this. You know, at the time I was training to be or studying to be a cutman. So
really?
That's the person. Yeah, so that's the person that comes in between rounds and you know.
I couldn't do that, but I'm like, what? Because if I see the blood, get another cutman.
Yeah, yeah. So my sister does that. We were studying at the same time, and she's a cutman now.
Wow.
And so that day that I picked up that camera and then I ran home and I put the card in the computer and I looked at the shots. I was like, no, this is what I want to do.
Now that's super juicy, right? Because here's one thing where you're studying to be a cut man.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you grab this camera now, you take pictures, you look back at the pictures, and then like you just made that decision, I don't want to do this anymore. How did that feel for you? Because I know there's a lot of people in life that I guess they think one route,
right?
But then it's not as strong when the moment what you felt to now have the courage now to go to this other route. Was it difficult for you to make that decision, or you was like, no, I want to I'm going to go after it no matter how hard it is? Because mind you, Marilyn, you didn't have any experience, right? You wasn't trained. You just picked up the camera, took a couple pictures, and now you're making this big decision that I'm going to leave this other thing and not go to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why wasn't it like scary for you, and why did you trusted that feeling so much?
There is this one shot, right? There was this boxer that was really getting the crap beat out of him. Like it was pretty bad. And then the referee came in and he stopped the fight. And there was this one shot where the referee's holding him against the ropes and he has his head on the ref's shoulder, and he just looked so. It was just such a beautifully tragic moment. It was like shattered dreams, you know. Like he looked so dejected, and the ref looked like this strong figure that was holding him up, and I just thought it was like the most beautiful thing, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to capture those moments where people, to the naked eye, it's not a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, kind of like see boxing through my eyes. There are those little moments that are really, really beautiful, and sometimes people don't get to see that.
Now, what did you start to do now to, like, I guess, find the steps to take it seriously, get trained, or maybe you didn't actually learn from others. You learned from yourself by trial and error. What was the next steps now for you that you took to, like, let me be serious with this?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so weird because a lot of it was instinctual. So I started sneaking into like media workouts. So before they have big fights, there's always like media workout week. And that's where the boxers at a certain gym and they put on a little workout for the media. And you're supposed to be credentialed and you're supposed to be there. I was. And a lot of times I would stand outside of the gym and just wait till like big groups came in and like kind of like shuffle in with them with my little camera. So I would go in and I would get these shots of the boxers during the workouts. And then I started a little Instagram page called MVP Box Pics. And I started uploading images, like little images here and there, here and there. And then I built it and I built it and I built it. And then I started reaching out to different outlets like, hey, are you looking for a photographer? I'm a boxing photographer. I wasn't a boxing photographer. I was just somebody who really loved the sport and someone who really wanted to be a part of it. You know, like I watch the sport all the time. I want to be in there, you know. And yeah, and that's where we go from there.
I'm not going to lie, that is so inspiring. Because it's like, yeah, I felt on what I believe in, you know, you did this in a past life somehow with the photography, right? Because for you to have that instinct and for you to have that passion from the moment you were shooting, and then I don't know if people taught you certain things. You said, well, I was just going to these things and you kind of like learned on the go. But what was so powerful about your pictures is like, I want to tell stories with my pictures. Yeah, you're going to get a nice shot of the head and a punch or whatever and stuff like that. I got those pictures, but there's certain pictures in there that you may have missed that, like the one that you explained, what the referee and the guy leaning on him, that is telling a story.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's very important to you. And I want to ask, why is that important to you to tell a different side of these stories about the boxing and these boxers?
Yeah, I like to tell my stories in the most respectful way possible. I understand that sometimes I'm not going to get a boxer in their best moment, but I want to do it as respectfully as I can. And showing these little clippets of things that people don't really understand are part of the equation, I think to me is important. And I like a lot of images where I get the boxers in their own element, in their own head. You know, where it's not like maybe not impact shots or just things that show them as humanly as possible. I don't know. I can't really explain. Sense. Just like in their raw state. You're
taking us. You have your own eyes that you're seeing, and you're allowing your eyes to see through their eyes and what they're allowing to see in that moment of vulnerability, wherever that is. Right? Every boxer walks in confident, has a game plan, yes. But there's moments that you get to see because you've been so close to the sport. There's moments that you get to see, oh wow, there's a moment of maybe a doubt he felt, or maybe there's but respectfully, because here's these two guys putting their life on the line, two guys that did walk into the ring very confident and know that they can do damage. But just like in life, it can break you certain times. It can throw a blow to you, and you probably didn't expect that. And those are the stories that you're telling because you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable, to see their vulnerability, and to see what they're going through in that moment. And I think that is a gift, right? Because everybody is probably trying to get the best shot, trying to get the best shot in the sense of like, oh, look at the blood that came out of that when he threw that, you know.
And those are really cool, by the way.
And those really are great. But you also have a side that you're telling more of a deeper story of what's in their mind.
Yeah.
That they probably let their guard down. Not their guard down, but they allow themselves to now just fight or whatever and go through whatever's happening in that ring. I want to know how were you able to, get over your fears and maybe doubts to this process, right? You didn't have experience, but you still put yourself out there and you still sent the emails. I would imagine that there's a moment that like, I'm not a boxer for title. What the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to be there because I love boxing.
Right.
So how did you learn, I guess, overcome, work on those doubts, work on those fears, and just at the end of the day, you tell yourself, Marilyn, figure it out. Maybe, whatever happens, happens. It is what it is.
There are a lot of no's, a lot of emails that were disregarded, no answers, and it happens. It's part of this. It's part of the sport. Boxing is not only brutal in the ring; it's brutal outside of the ring. There's a lot that goes on, and you have to have thick skin, but it's worth it. It's worth it. And all I can say to anyone who really wants to do this, you have to really be committed, and you have to let a lot of things just not affect you, because it's brutal.
Were there moments that it affected you and maybe questioned?
Absolutely.
You questioned yourself,
Absolutely.
like, I don't think I'm going to do this, but then something happened that, like, I'm going to push through. If you don't mind sharing, like, a moment where you experienced that, like, it was brutal enough for you to, like, a blow that, like, you question everything. Why am I doing this? Why am I dealing with the nonsense outside of the ring, not even inside the ring?
Right.
Why am I dealing with this? And how did you push through, if you mind sharing that?
Yeah, I mean, I've had instances where, one big instance in the beginning where, just people are just like mean-spirited, and they try to like derail you from what you're doing and go behind your back and, trying to stop you at your tracks. And I'm like, you know what, I'm going to keep pushing forward. And for every bad experience I've encountered 10 good experiences, because the people in this community, for the most part, they're really good people, and they're willing to help. I had a lot of photographers who rallied against me, and they really like held my hand, and they showed me the ropes, and I made a lot of good friends in this industry.
So it's a matter of for you, take the blow, let it, I guess, go through the emotions that you felt. Yeah. And at the same time, find a way to push through and let the good outweigh the bad.
Right. And you definitely have to have a competitive nature, because it's cutthroat. Yeah.
Is it hard being a woman doing your job in a male-dominant sport? Is it like, have you ever had instances where automatically you're judged for being a woman and shooting the camera and using, and how difficult was that for you to be like, well, fuck you. Like, that's your views. Yeah. It's not mine.
Yeah. Excuse me, my allergies.
No problem.
I think a lot of times people don't expect women to really be into the sport, and they don't expect you to know the sport. And it's cute. Look, she's got a camera. But a lot of times, we know our stuff just as much or even better than the men that are doing this. And I remember one time I was in Cuba, because I traveled to Cuba for work. And I was in Cuba, and I went to Trejo Gym, which is one of the world's most famous gym. A lot of Olympians come out of that gym. And I was shooting this boxer, and he's all gloved up, and he's going to the punching bag, and then he starts like punching the bag in slow motion, and I'm waiting for him to like start punching the bag, and then I said, what are you doing? He goes, no, I'm trying to help you so you can get the shots. I'm like, no, buddy, just go. I know what I'm doing, just go. So I think it's that misconception that we're like not in tune with the sport. But I love the element of surprise. I love it when things aren't what they appear to be. So I like to be like a pleasant surprise when it comes to boxing.
You like being the underdog and being overlooked.
I love yes.
Then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm gonna show you something. Like,
underdogs are the eighth wonder of the world. Let me tell you.
Absolutely, and it seems like you started off automatically walking into this in this whole art form as an underdog, and you had to, before you proved to anyone, you had to prove to yourself that you can do that. It seems to me, was there other shots that you took that fueled your confidence? Because it seemed like to me, the first pick that you took, it just, this confidence within yourself that you can do it, just shot out. Did you have moments where maybe you had a bad night of shooting and you was like, and how do you brush that off? Or maybe you was looking for certain types of shots that you just didn't get that night. How do you maneuver? Because I would assume every fight is different.
Yeah. Yeah, every fight is different. There are some fights that are more difficult to shoot than the others because the boxers are awkward and they move erratically, or their movement is not in sync with what you're expecting it to be. And there are times, you show up to a fight and your timing is off, or you don't have a good angle, or you don't have maybe the equipment is not what you need it to be for that night. But that's the thing about boxing, though. Like, when you're a boxing photographer, nothing is in your control. Not the lighting, not the setting, not the movement, nothing. You have to improvise on everything. And I think that's what I love most about it. Just creating something out of an environment where you have no control.
How did you learn how to get comfortable with that? I would imagine that, like, you would want to walk into something. Well, you say you loved it, but I would imagine you would want to walk into something where you kind of know certain things. So I guess, how did you get comfortable with the unknown, entering in every fight? And I would imagine that it took trial and error, just learning those things, just accepting things for what they are, and figuring it out on the go.
Yeah, I'm sort of a control freak, and I like to be in control of pretty much every aspect of my life. So I think this is the only place where I'm cool with walking into, like, chaos, And by chaos, I mean, the lighting could be bad, the fighters may not, be in the position, in the spot where you need them to be to catch that shot.
And those moments, do you get frustrated, or you just...
Oh yeah,
like,
everybody.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So if another person wants to get into this, like, and they're gonna experience those emotions, what do you do when you are getting frustrated? Like, what is the process for that? Like, you just yell at it, like yell at your camera, or you just like, all right, next shot, whatever. You just follow it.
You just curse. You curse your way through it, But it's I think it's the element of surprise. I like that there. I like that.
It seems like also that, in a way, honestly, because you said every boxer moves different. You not know what's gonna happen. Every fight is different. It also seems like you're a boxer behind the camera. Like, if you really look into it, because you're adapting to so many styles.
Yeah.
You're adapting to so many things that you don't have control of. You don't know, so you're on your toes, you're on your feet, with the camera.
Right. You're fighting your own battle behind the lens.
Exactly. Absolutely. And I find that fascinating because, of course, in the end, you are undefeated because you're going to get the shots that you want.
Not always.
Not always.
Not always.
So, what happens then when you are not satisfied with the shots that you want? Do you just learn to live with it, and it's like, well, tomorrow's another day for another fight? And also, do you plan those type of shots that you walk into it, like, I want to get these type of shots today, or
no?
Or in the moment you're looking for that type of shot?
Everything in this sport is in the moment. You just like one boxer goes into the ring, he can anticipate what the other boxer is going to do, but he doesn't know. So it's the same thing when you're a photographer and you're walking into the fights. You don't know. You think you know what the boxer is going to do, and sometimes you know a boxer's style, but they could switch it up, and it's different every single time.
Do you beat yourself up when you don't get the shot that you want, or you just
you get a little disappointed sometimes, but then you're like, move on. It's just it's not a big deal, and more often than not, the shots that you think you wanted and the shots that you got are even better.
It's like trusting the process.
Yeah.
How do you remain true to yourself in this field? Because a lot of times, like you said before, you get judged, you'll get
a lot of judgments. Yes,
a lot of judgments. You get sometimes treated meanly. Maybe certain people want to hire you for a specific type of pictures or whatever. like, how do you at the end of the day remain with the bullshit from? How do you remain true to you and this camera and this passion that you don't get sidetracked or pulled any other way?
It's the love of the sport. I just love the sport. There's no one that can ever take that away from me. I think my love for the sport supersedes anything that I can come across in this field. So,
What are some techniques that you, I guess, to get those shots? Like, take us now behind the lens of, like, what do you see when the fight's going on? I guess, you know, certain things that you do automatically, like there's some tools that you have automatically that to prepare to get these shots in those moments.
yeah, I think for me, with like there are certain fighters where I know their style and I know what they're gonna do, so I can kind of like anticipate those shots. Like, I love very athletic fighters. There are a few out there that celebrate their win with like the backflips at the end. And I know the boxers that are gonna do that, so I'm ready. You know. But other than that, for me, the big thing are corner shots. Like, I love corner shots.
That means like the corner of the ring?
Right. So when they come in between rounds and their corner team is working on them, to me, those are the best shots. They're very intimate. It's like almost being like a little spy in the room and watching something going on that's only for that little corner, you know? So to me, those are the best shots. If you can find what you appreciate most within the sport and focus on that, then I think you'll have success.
What did you learn about yourself through this whole process of becoming a photographer, diving into the boxing world to shoot these pictures, the fighters, you know, building relationships with them, relationship with other photographers that became friends, stuff like that. Through this whole thing, you being behind this lens, what did you learn about yourself through this whole process? If there's certain things that stick out to you that you didn't know maybe you had, that you thought you had, and then you figured it out.
Yeah, I didn't know that I was this resourceful. Yeah. You know, it started as a hobby and just being a little part of a world that I loved from the outside, and then being in it in this capacity, however small it may be. I just love that I can produce images that respectfully portray people that I really admire. Do you get approval or support from your family when you decided to like take on this path, this journey, and like how has that been juggling family and also like maybe if they're like, why are you doing this, or maybe it's the opposite, like my mom's fucking badass, you know what I'm saying? So no, the kids love it. Sometimes I bring them to the fights with me. I get tickets for them. They come to the fights. They love it. They're older now. They have their own lives. So
well, if you want to adopt two other kids to the fights,
no, that's okay.
We're more than happy and free to.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yes, let's bring a 7-month-old with me to the fights.
No, us. We're there.
You too?
Yeah, adopt us.
I think we can make that happen.
If you want to adopt us, we know how to poop. We know.
You have to change us. It should be easy.
Yeah.
I think we can do that. Yeah.
Have you ever thought about maybe looking into like filming as well, like, or is just photography for you, or have you thought about like maybe I could do a short film and like, because it seems to me you have the eye and which is a gift.
Thank you.
You also have the story element behind it, which you're able to dig deep and find those things, which is also a gift.
Thank you.
So have you thought about maybe how can I take this to the next level, maybe the next step?
Yeah. I think maybe eventually I would try. I would like to try film, but what I love about still photography is just freezing that moment in time. Like, I love freezing a moment that you know is going to be here forever. It's not a movie clip. It's not a film clip. It's just something that happened in a split second, and your camera caught it, and it's there forever. You know.
What's a moment in your life that you will freeze in time, that you will look at it almost like as a picture?
Probably the time my grandmother passed away.
Well, what did you learn from her?
Wow.
You know, because it seems automatically from you just sharing that being awesome, and thank you for sharing that. That she played a big role in your life.
Yeah.
And I'm always fascinated
Yeah.
because my mom is a strong woman that played a strong person in my life, and also my wife as well. And I was pretty much raised a lot with women, right? And we had this conversation how there need to be more of a talk about how, you know, powerful and strong women are, you know, and, you know, they could do just as much or even more as men. So what did your grandmother serve to you in your life? Some lessons that you still go back and remember?
My grandmother taught us kindness, compassion, generosity. There wasn't anyone who crossed her path that just didn't see like pure love and joy, you know, like just pouring out of her pores, you know. She loved everyone to a fault, you know. There wasn't anything she wouldn't do for anyone, not her grandkids, not her daughter, her son-in-law, even her stepchildren, and it was just that she had such a forgiving nature. She would never, she didn't have a mean bone in her body. And she was just like that one person who kept the entire family together. And she was so popular that we used to have to field her calls, you know, like, you know, they'd be calling for her like left and right all day long. And they'd be like, no, she's taking a nap, but she's sitting there trying to watch Onuela, you know, like, oh, you know, she was just, everyone looked to her for just everything.
It seems like her biggest fight was love, and she gave that freely to everyone.
Everyone.
So, and I think that was beautiful. Did you carry those same things as well to everyone, loving everyone as well, and use that in your life?
I do, but people try me. You know?
Of course.
Yeah,
there's a balance.
There is a balance. For me, there is a balance. I think I have more of a harder edge, but I am a softie.
Right.
But definitely a harder edge to my personality.
Where would you want to take this? What's a big goal of yours that you want out of this? Because you accomplish a lot. And I think the moment that you grabbed that camera and took that picture and decided to take that step that like, hey, I want to do this, I don't want to do the cut anymore, to me, you succeeded from that day. You know, you don't need any awards. You don't need the recognition. To me, that was the biggest recognition that you gave yourself, was like, I'm going to honor myself and I'm going to do this, because you walked into it blindly on a technique aspect of like technical wise, the camera, because you had the love already in there. So what is something that you want to do, like on a big scale? What's a dream of yours?
Wow. Honestly, I just want to keep creating. I think every artist just wants to keep creating. Like, that's something that never ever stops, and I'm content just continuing to be a part of this and just capturing those special moments. I think maybe down the line I'd love to put together a book. And to just like mass production. I don't know how that works on the publication end, but that's something that probably I would like to do.
Who was your corner man in your life?
Definitely my grandmother.
My grandmother again.
My grandmother. Nice. And my parents. My parents, they're great people. They're good people. They taught us, you know, right from wrong, hard work. So yeah, my family and my children. I learn a lot from my children. You'll know. Learn. You're going to learn so much. Your child is going to teach you so much about yourself.
Have they influenced you in this craft as well, in this art?
Absolutely.
In what sense? Maybe you can share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're like they've always been my cheerleaders, and I've got two children that are very artistic. I have one who has her master's in fine arts, and she's extremely artistic, and she's starting this new project where she's trying to open up some studio space for underprivileged people, just a space where like artists who can't afford studio spaces.
Yeah, I get her on this podcast too.
Yeah. I mean, she's incredible, and so she's working on that, and she really inspires me. They all inspire me. They're good people. They're good. Like I'm telling you, like they're good people. Like even if they weren't my children, I'd be like, oh, these are great people. Like for real. I know. Like even though they came out of my womb, I'm telling you, trust me, they're good people. And just their approach to everything. They're very light-hearted people. Like they enjoy a good laugh, and I think that's probably the key to life, right? Enjoy a good life. Yeah, you have to enjoy everything you do.
How do you? I could like spend hours just talking about certain things about boxing. So, how do you? I guess know the balance between shooting the boxers and building a relationship with them naturally, not like hey, I'm your biggest fan. I knew like like, just naturally build connections with them. How do you balance that? I guess like on a professional level as well. And has there been boxers that like started as boxers and now became like good friends with you?
Yeah, okay. So there are boxers who like to connect with the media, and then you see them at the small club shows, and they'll come up to you and they'll interact with you. And then there are other boxers that not so much. Yeah. And sometimes it gets a little sticky because a lot of times the biggest issues that photographers have are copyright issues. So you have a lot of boxers who take your work and they think it's okay to just give it out and to the world, and it's it doesn't work that way. They have to come through us. So sometimes things get a little sticky, but you have to find a balance to how you communicate with them. You don't want to like alienate yourself from like having a certain type of professional relationship with them, but you also have to set boundaries.
How do you protect your work in the sense of like maybe copywriting and stuff like that? And because the shots that you take, anyone can screenshot it and put it anywhere and stuff like that. So how do you make sure like you sleep at night that knowing that like, all right, whatever, you can take it, but it's copywritten or whatever?
Yeah, it happens more often than you think, and sometimes you have to go after entities and say, I didn't give you permission to use my images, and sometimes there's a little bit of legality work involved, and other times they're like, okay, they take it down, but it tests your nerves a little bit. Yeah.
How do you stay focused with the noise around you, and is that even a factor? Like, because now you're like with thousands of people around you and you still have a job to do and you got to remain focused. So how did you learn, or was it even an issue for you?
No, it's great. I love the noise of the arena. I love being around my fellow photographers and the media people, and just being in the moment. Being in the moment, and you hear the fans behind you, and it just adds to the entire experience. I've been to fights where, you have people who are just like, okay, perfect example. So there was recently a fight, Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua.
Yep.
And so Anthony Joshua, as you know, is a big buff, like the ultimate boxer. If you could say, okay, this is the type of boxer that I think fits the mold for what a boxer should look like. That was him. Yep. And then you have his opponent who came in at the last minute, and he's a little bit out of shape.
No, he was fat.
Yeah.
No, I was.
Yeah, he's just
the underdog.
The underdog. Yes.
We're just looking at his body already and say he's a bum, but not knowing that he did put in work. Prior to his fights, but absolutely, we're judging already with the eye. Yeah. Which was great.
Yeah. So we're at the fights, and we have all the British fans behind us, and they're in there and they're yelling some horrible things at this boxer, which you can't hear because we were shooting from way up top. But the whole arena is just being so nasty, and the people behind us are just like being just so disrespectful.
Yeah.
And as the fight went on, they were just like quieter and quieter and quieter and quieter. And then when Joshua got put down for the last time, it was like I turned around, they were really quiet. Oh, they're gone. They left. You know, like I love that experience. Like it's like seeing the underdog experience to the max because you've got the surround sound of the people behind you, like, you know, thinking things are gonna go one way, but they're not. I think that makes it more spectacular.
How do you not take those things personal? Like hearing those, I can only imagine what they're saying, right? So, and I know it's horrible stuff. How do you not take that personal?
Yeah. Some things you do.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, some things you do because they're yelling specifically nasty things about like Latinos and Mexicans this, Mexicans that, and you try not to let it get under your skin, and you're like, okay, I'm here to do what I'm going to do, but once the action starts, you know, you're just
zone out.
It's white noise.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I have a spiritual sister, right? That. She loves boxing.
Okay.
We both love it. We went and hang out and see the fights and stuff like that. And I know she has a huge passion for it. Even was training just to do the exercise, stuff like that.
Great.
And she mentioned at one point, it's like maybe she wanted to like look into like maybe taking pictures or something like that.
Yeah.
Similar story to like how you had the passion for it as well, but she doesn't know yet. So, and I would imagine she would definitely be inspired by hearing your story. But if you can give her a direct like advice of where she's at, what would it be?
Yeah, I'll tell you, she already has a love for the sport, so that's she's already got one foot in the door, you know. And then I'd love to talk to her and give her some pointers or help her any way that I can. And
what's one thing that you would share with her that was vital to your journey in this thing? You have to love, but what was something that you realized that at the end of the day was a big factor into this in this journey of your boxing and taking pictures of boxing?
I think the one thing would be is setting boundaries for yourself, because you're going to want to do it all, but you have to create a balance. Otherwise, it takes over your entire being. Like this will spill over into everything. You have to know a balance. I know, like for me, like I'm a single mom. I have a full-time career. I do this on the side, and sometimes I get greedy and I want to do it all, and then you wind up exhausted, and then you don't want to burn yourself out. So it's just pacing yourself and knowing your own personal boundaries.
All right, you heard that, Breeze. The first one was you already have it. You got the love.
Yeah.
And the second one was balance. You can't do it all.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. So Marilyn, we got to know you, career-wise, boxing-wise, artistic-wise, and also you share moments about your personal life, which I'm truly honored and humbled. Now we're going to move to the first segment of this interview.
Okay.
And it's called Let's Look Inside. And the first question of Let's Look Inside is, what in life is beautiful to you?
Family. Family. And having that connection, especially for me with my children.
If we can push the brakes, this is the second question. If we can push the brakes on your life right now, what is something you can pay more attention to in your life?
Probably my love life. Yeah, I think I'm at a point where I really want to be in a relationship. Yeah, but got the whole political news thing taking up most of my day. Boxing on the weekends, 9 to 5 at work.
Would it be ideal? This is probably pretty cliche, but would it be ideal that you want to date a boxer?
Absolutely not. They're way younger. They're way
Okay.
younger. Yeah.
But what if you find
Yeah.
someone, that say, hey, I want to do this. He's probably in his 40s or something. I don't know. He might be the one. You might be the underdog, Marilyn.
I know, right? Go underdogs. Yeah. No, I don't think I'd want to be with anybody who's in the industry. I would love to find someone who has a love for the sport, since I
Gotcha.
spend so much time
Yeah.
either watching it or being a part of it. That would be great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The second segment is called Words from My Spiritual Teacher, Guru Enlightenment. And in this segment, I read certain writings that she shared on Facebook in her book. This one comes from her book.
Okay.
And it's called Finding Your Own Answers in the Unknown. And I'm going to read something from her book, and then we'll just discuss it of like, how do you felt about it.
Okay.
Do not allow depression to take you away from where you need to be. Give yourself the chance to get out of it, whether it is by running, hitting a punching bag, talking to someone, going to therapy, riding a bicycle, medication that a doctor prescribes you. Become free. How do you feel hearing that?
It's very powerful, first of all. Freedom is costly. Like, it costs a lot to find your freedom in all aspects. And I have a lot of respect for people who are battling depression and they get up and they keep going. And I've always said, however you can do it, if it's medication, if it's finding time for you, if it's being rude and shutting someone out just so that you could find a space where you feel like you have your freedom, peace of mind, how whatever the cost is, whatever you have to do to get it, because it's the most precious commodity we have.
It seems like to me, I agree with you. It also seems like to me that this can relate to you in the sense that what this passion brings to you, which is that freedom and that passion, an outlet for you.
Right.
And it started as a family thing.
Yeah.
And whether you battle with depression or not, or maybe you had a moment of like, what am I doing in my life, which you probably experienced, this passion and this gift brought you so much more than you would ever thought and imagine. And it gave you a space that it's for you.
Absolutely. I think boxing gave me wings. I really do. It is freeing. The process of creating something that wasn't there. It is very freeing.
You are now checking out
The Win Podcast,
where everyday people
are the celebrities.
So let's get to know them.